Good afternoon and welcome to our midday briefing. We have a few announcements for you before we take your questions. Let me start with a short but very important update to the President's agenda, looking ahead. Yesterday, President von der Leyen spoke to President Zelensky, as they regularly do. You may have seen the post. And President von der Leyen accepted an invitation to be in Ukraine to mark the 4 years of the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. It will be a renewed and reiterated sign of the solidarity of the European Union with Ukraine and of our determination and unity in the face of Russia's continued aggression. We are discussing the details and will share them with you when we have more information about this visit. So this is it for the update of the President's agenda. Now let me share with you a reminder of the 2 informal meetings of the Council happening today. First, you will have seen that an informal meeting of the EU housing ministers is taking place this afternoon via video conference. The plan aims to support member states, regions and cities in delivering more affordable, sustainable and quality homes across Europe, and this entails notably increasing housing supply, addressing short-term rentals in areas under housing stress, and supporting the most affected. The Commissioner will participate in a press conference that will follow the virtual meeting around 4 p.m. Second, there is an informal competitiveness council meeting taking place today in Nicosia, Cyprus, on the internal market and industry formation. And the Commission is represented at this meeting by Commissioner McGrath. Ministers will discuss the European defence technological industrial base and take stock of the competitiveness compass 1 year after its launch, with a view to accelerate its implementation and effectiveness. They will also participate in a working lunch on the Consumer Agenda 2030. Commissioner McGrath will participate in the press conference that will conclude the meeting around 2:30. So 2 press events this afternoon at 2:30 with Commissioner McGrath and at 4 with Commissioner Jorgensen. And so we would ask you to keep any related questions on these topics for these 2 dedicated press conferences. Maintenant, un petit point en français. Veuillez noter que nous avions annoncé hier des discussions avec vous en background, comme on a envisagé de faire régulièrement, au lieu de ce midday. On avait annoncé pour vendredi. En fait, ce sera ce jeudi 5 février en remplacement de notre réunion de midi. Et donc, vous pouvez rencontrer, discuter avec toute notre équipe de porte-parole et attachés de presse à 11 heures, donc un peu plus tôt que le midday, à 11 heures, dans la zone devant la salle de presse avec du café et du thé, et on aura la possibilité de répondre en background à vos questions, et ceci en présence physique, bien évidemment. Donc, on ne va pas transmettre en EBS ou Interactio, et on espère retrouver un maximum d'entre vous en personne à cette occasion. Et voilà pour nos annonces, et on peut passer à vos questions. Yes, please.
Thank you, Olena Abramovich, Radio Free Europe. I have a question on REPowerEU regulation, which is entering into force today. There are some member states which express their complaints that it fails to reflect the real capacities and specific circumstances of individual countries, that it violates the principle of energy solidarity, etc. Could you please explain if this regulation took into account all the concerns of all the member states? Thank you.
Yes.
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 This regulation, we made the proposal last summer, and it was following an intense process of engaging with member states and our stakeholders, as well as with European Parliament. And after we made the proposal, it has gone through co-legislation procedure as usual. And you mentioned the few member states who have raised and voiced their concerns that their national specificities have not been taken into account. We have made very clear already when we proposed the REPower plan in 2022 that we take good note of the situation in some member states and how they are situated geographically, what their access to certain energy infrastructure is, whether they're landlocked, etc. And we have made very clear that we continue intensively to work with these member states to make sure that all of them have access to a diverse energy mix as per their national energy mix program or policy. And we continue to do this, and we have made this very clear also when the REPower, the gas regulation, when it was reaching the final stages. We have constantly been very clear that we will continue to support our member states. For us, the most important thing is that all our member states have a diversified energy portfolio, they have access to energy sources, and there are no security of supply issues. These are our priorities. And of course, if our member states do have concerns, then they do wish to legally challenge the legislation that was adopted, they have the right to do that. This would not be the first time in the history of the Commission that this happens, and we will be there defending our position, while again at the same time making sure that none of our member states are facing any security of supply concerns.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Tatiana Vysotska, European Pravda, Ukraine. Follow up on the same topic. Yesterday, Hungary actually put the lawsuit to the European Court of Justice. My question is, was the Commission officially informed about that? Do you have this official information? Which are the next legal steps which Commission is going to take according to this lawsuit of Hungary? And what are your expectations? Because the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Hungary said that this process may take 2 years. Do you have some plan B in case the court will side with Hungary, for example, and block the regulation of the European Union? So do you have some plan B on this topic? Thank you.
On all these cases that involve the European Court of Justice, the processes are led by them. So it will be for them to now determine what are the next steps, what is the timetable, and how they decide to take things forward. And we are there, of course, defending our proposal, and we do not have any speculation to make. As you said, or as actually your colleague said, the regulation enters into force today. It was published yesterday in the official journal. So this is where we are from our end, and we now also look forward to get instructions and the next steps from the court, and we will take it from there.
Exactly. And in the meantime, we apply the legislation. Yes. It's also important to recall that. Yes, please. And we complete the trio here in front.
Hello, Valeria Pashko, public broadcaster of Ukraine. It's kind of follow-up. So yesterday, Donald Trump stated that India would stop buying Russian oil or reduce buying Russian oil, but Indian Prime Minister didn't confirm that. At the same time, the EU continues purchasing Russian, not Russian, but refined oil products from India, and which were refined from Russian oil, as we all know. Do you consider to stop buying these products, or is there any discussions on that? Thanks.
As you know, and it's been recalled here, we have had several packages of sanctions against Russia in the context of the war of aggression in Ukraine. And among those packages, we first targeted oil imports from Russia, which were banned. And then later on, we also included imports from refined oil products, so oil products as it's called. So it's been a long time that we have been actually working and tackling imports of Russian fossil fuels, and this also concerns imports of Russian fossil fuels via other countries. So this is, for us, not new. It's something that we've been actively targeting, and in the overall context, on the one hand, of making Russia pay for the war that it's causing and continuing to cause destruction, and on the other hand also to be seen in our overall effort to phase out imports of fossil fuels from Russia. Yes, Nikolaus? Sorry, yeah. You had a follow-up? Sorry, I didn't see it.
It is, Anna-Kaisa, could you please remind us which member states still buy Russian gas and oil, if you have some data? Because the last time you provided us with this data, we had like 8 member states who still buy Russian oil and Russian gas. Thanks.
On oil, it's very clear. It's only 2 members, because oil is sanctioned. So it's 2 member states that do have an exemption to the sanctions, Hungary and Slovakia. But those countries, those member states that still import, that will diminish dramatically in 6 weeks as well, when the regulation kicks in. But I'm not sure I have the very latest, because, as always is the case, we only have the entry points. We do not have the information precisely where any of this gas actually goes once it reaches the entry point. So this could be one of the topics that we can discuss on Thursday over a cup of tea.
And now Nikolaus.
Thank you. Also published today in the official journal is the commitment to propose legislation to tackle the remainder of Russian oil. I was just wondering whether you had a more concrete timeline on that for us, and also in the context of the REPowerEU roadmap. I think the original plan was to propose something regarding Russian enriched uranium in 2025. It's 2026. What's the timeline look like?
It is indeed 2026, and congratulations on your new hair. Both oil and nuclear is coming this year.
Good. Other questions to Anna-Kaisa? Let me see. I have a few online, but they don't seem to be for Anna-Kaisa. Unless Bogdan, is it for Anna-Kaisa? You're muted, Bogdan. And gone is Bogdan. Good. Other questions? Yes, please.
Thanks, Jana Hemmersmeyer for AFP News Agency. I have a question for Balázs or for yourself, I'm not sure. The name of Commissioner Maroš Šefčovič appears in the Epstein files, but it's not quite clear, so I would like to ask for some clarifications. Has Commissioner Šefčovič participated in a meeting with Mr. Epstein in Brussels in 2019? And if so, what was the purpose of the meeting? Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Indeed, we've seen that, and on behalf of Commissioner Šefčovič, we do have a statement to share with you. Balázs.
Yes, and before we jump in, maybe I will provide a short update on the general situation, because, of course, here we are talking about a former Commissioner, Peter Mandelson, and we discussed yesterday that some new documents were made available on this particular point. And as a matter of general practice, as you know, we have rules in place emanating from the treaty and the code of conduct that commissioners, including former commissioners, have to follow. And when we have an indication that some of these rules may not have been respected, then of course we follow up and we look into these potential breaches. And the short or the small update I can provide is that we will be assessing if, in light of these newly available documents, there might be breaches of the respective rules with regard to Peter Mandelson. So this is a small update I wanted to offer before we jump in.
Let's make it very clear. That's about Mandelson.
Yes.
Your question was about Commissioner Šefčovič, and it's a separate story.
Indeed. Totally different story. And here I would like to read out a short statement from Commissioner Šefčovič. So this will be on his behalf, and I will be quoting. Quote starts. I've never had any direct or indirect contact, communication or meeting with Jeffrey Epstein. I did not authorize, request or agree to anyone mentioning my name to Jeffrey Epstein, including Miroslav Lajčák. Any such mention was made without my knowledge. If Miroslav Lajčák has mentioned my name, it was for his own purposes with which I had nothing to do. I was also never approached with any request for a meeting or contact with Jeffrey Epstein, neither by Miroslav Lajčák nor by anybody else. I'm appalled that my name was used in that exchange without my knowledge or consent, and I categorically reject any implication of my involvement. Quote ends.
Thank you. Stefan.
Yes, thanks. I'm coming back to my question yesterday. Whether you did you have time to look into, because you mentioned his name, Miroslav Lajčák's case, whether he was in a way compromised in his activity as a special representative for the dialogue between Belgrade and Pristina. Thank you.
On this, Anita, would you have any update on him? But please, if you can just come and join us.
Basically, on the regulations that are in place, in particular the staff regulations, I don't have anything further to add other than my colleague Balázs. On Lajčák specifically, as previously also mentioned, he resigned from his duties as the Slovak Prime Minister's National Security Advisor. Also, his services to the EU occurred under the previous mandate, and his term as USR also finished last year and was not prolonged. When it comes to any security risk or threats, these are also for the national authorities to handle because they are in charge of this.
Thank you, Anita. Yes, Stefan?
Yes, my question was whether he was, in a way, compromised or under foreign influence during his activities as for the EU as a special representative. Thank you.
Thank you. When it comes to the dialogue as such, it remains unaffected by such developments. The dialogue is a steady process since 2011, which is owned by the parties and led by the High Representative, and also the dialogue is constantly scrutinized by the member states.
Okay. Other questions? Yes, please.
Thank you, Tatiana Litvinova, Громадське Radio Ukraine. Last night, Ukraine was again under massive Russian attack, and the drone hit a residential building in Kyiv. And this happened just after the Kremlin said Russia would stop attacks at Donald Trump request until February 1st. Instead, it looks like Russia simply preparing this strike at its been before. And from the European Commission's point of view, what does this show about Russians' readiness to take a real step towards peace negotiations?
Yes, Anita.
Thank you. So what we have seen with the latest strikes, but also the strikes also from the weekend where 15 miners were also killed, but also now the Kharkiv city where 9 people have been reported injured, is that Russia pretends to discuss a ceasefire, but it is absolutely not serious about it. What Russia is doing is weaponizing the winter to freeze Ukraine, and since it's losing ground, is resorting to attacking civilians and civilian infrastructure. This shows once more that the pressure needs to be put on Russia and Russia only, and this is what we're doing.
Yes, other questions to Anita on foreign affairs? No. Then other topics? Yes.
Yes, hi, this is Fabio Napoli for the Italian news agency Public Policy. Just to be sure on von der Leyen's agenda, I think you didn't say when is gonna travel to Ukraine. I suppose it's gonna be on the 24th of February, but just to be sure. And then if you know if Zelensky invited someone else like President Costa or some other prime ministers. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabio. So indeed, what I said, it will be at the occasion of the 4th anniversary of the war in Ukraine. So this would mean around the 22nd of February. The concrete details and days, it's still being finalized, and I have no further information on possible similar invitations that President Zelensky may have addressed to other leaders. I don't have that information. Oui, Sabine.
Sorry, just a follow-up, Sabina Rosetta answer, and it will be in Kyiv or still to be defined also the place? Thank you.
As said, we'll have more details and share when we have those details. Yes, please.
Hi, Nicholas Hurst from MLEX. A question for Toma, I think. Pedro Sanchez in Spain has just announced a ban of social media for kids under the age of 16. Curious to know whether the Commission has any comments on that and whether Spain maybe needs to notify that or get some sort of Commission approval for that. And while we've got Toma up, I see that the US House Judiciary Committee is holding a big hearing on EU digital rules and how EU law censors American speech online, and always curious to know what the Commission has to say about that. Thank you.
Yes, we have had some announcements on ban on social media for teenagers, and this is a new one. Yes, Thomas.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Nicholas. Well, maybe first general comment on the fact that Spain now joins the club alongside France, Denmark, Greece, Austria yesterday on the podium, and many others, and actually joins the club of the Commission in trying to get a step further to actually protect our kids online even more. The position I gave yesterday and the day before for the other countries still holds. So basically, we work hand in hand with these member states who, of course, have to make sure that any law passed at national level to potentially exclude minors from accessing social media content or social media platforms online cannot put additional obligations on very large online platforms, because that's the prerogative of the Commission under Article 28 of the Digital Services Act, which is very important because it has a harmonizing effect to protect 450 million citizens that we have in Europe. So a law towards its citizens, yes, of course, we value this, we work hand in hand with the member states, and then the enforcement of this towards the very large online platforms is the responsibility of the Commission. And in this regard, let me recall that we have already published the prototype of an age verification app, which will be the appropriate tool for platforms to rely on and to make sure that they can enforce such laws. So voilà, that's the position of the Commission, and we will take it from there. On your second question and a public hearing that will take place tomorrow, well, I mean, it's always good to have public hearings and to recall that we fully stand for freedom of expression. We have said it many times from this podium. I think our position is very clear, both in this press room but also towards our American counterparts. We stand for freedom of expression. Any allegation towards Europe saying that we are not protecting freedom of expression or any censorship allegations are complete nonsense, and these are unfounded allegations. Let me recall that freedom of expression is, of course, a fundamental right in Europe. The DSA is there to protect it, to make sure that we can make sure that our citizens can use that fundamental right also online. I mean, we all know it in this press room. I can give you a little homework, Nicholas. You can check public indexes online that classify fundamental rights or freedom of expression online. You will see that the top countries on these indexes all come from one part of the globe, Europe. So I think that says it all. These are publicly available indexes. And then second, if you talk about platforms, because this is what is at stake here, and this will be probably one of the main topics that will be raised tomorrow in the hearing. Let's just take Meta, for example. Let's take one American social media platform. In the first half of last year, in the first 6 months of 2025, Meta has taken here in Europe 24.5 million content moderation decisions affecting users in Europe. That's not the Commission, because the Commission has taken 0 content moderation decision since the DSA entered into force, since the existence of the DSA. Meta, in 6 months, 24.5 million. And thanks to the DSA, because it protects free speech, almost 30% of this were actually unjustified content moderation decisions and were reversed. So that says it all. The DSA is about freedom of expression, not about censorship.
Thank you. Thomas, to recall our very clear position on that. Oui, David.
Merci, Paul. David Carretta, Radio Radicale. Thomas, pour une personne qui, comme moi, qui ignore complètement les mécanismes de fonctionnement des plateformes et des modèles de vérification d'âge, je voulais te demander comment c'est possible de ne pas mettre une obligation plus pour les grandes plateformes si on met une seuil minimum d'âge et en plus des seuils différentes, 16, 15, etc. Et il n'y a pas d'obligation d'avoir un système de vérification d'âge. Donc, comment c'est possible d'être tous dans la même équipe si chacun fait différemment et il n'y a pas une obligation parce que c'est à vous d'imposer cette obligation. Merci.
Bonjour David, c'est une bonne question, ce qui va me permettre de clarifier certains points. Donc ce qu'on dit, c'est que les autorités nationales ne peuvent pas imposer des obligations supplémentaires aux plateformes en ligne, parce qu'effectivement, c'est la responsabilité de la Commission dans le cadre du DSA. Que dit le DSA? Le DSA dit déjà qu'il faut protéger les mineurs en ligne, il faut protéger leur sécurité, il faut protéger leur vie privée, leurs données privées, etc., etc. Donc les obligations pèsent déjà sur les très grandes plateformes en ligne. Le DSA va même un peu plus loin et dit que des outils de vérification d'âge doivent être mis en place par les plateformes en ligne pour s'assurer que les lois, qu'elles soient européennes ou nationales, s'il y a potentiellement une restriction d'âge au niveau national, soient respectées. La Commission, aujourd'hui c'est difficile, on le fait, mais c'est difficile de mettre en œuvre un texte juridique vis-à-vis d'une plateforme si nous-mêmes, nous n'avons pas fait notre devoir. Aujourd'hui, le devoir est fait depuis la Commission européenne, à savoir qu'on fournit aujourd'hui une application qui est testé dans les différents États membres, y compris le tien, David. Pourquoi c'est important de le tester et de le personnaliser au niveau national? Parce qu'il y a effectivement une fragmentation du marché dans certains secteurs. Par exemple, l'alcool, la cigarette, qui sont autorisés à 16 ans dans certains États membres, dans d'autres c'est 17 ou 18, et potentiellement l'accès aux réseaux sociaux. Le jour où cette application est personnalisée, et Mme Virkkunen, la vice-présidente de la Commission, a annoncé que cette application serait disponible dans les App Store d'ici le mois de mars de cette année, donc on y travaille. Ensuite, une fois que cette application est testée par les autorités nationales, Les plateformes n'auront pas de contraintes supplémentaires. Elles devront simplement s'appuyer sur le travail qu'on a déjà fait pour ces plateformes. Elles devront accepter notre outil de vérification d'âge européen. Et avec ça, les critères d'accès aux réseaux sociaux seront automatiquement définis parce que ça aura été personnalisé dans les 27 États membres. J'espère que ça répond à ta question. J'espère que ça clarifie.
Oui, David, pas tout à fait. Tu as une question de suivi?
Non, pas tout à fait, parce que si une plateforme ne veut pas utiliser votre application, qu'est-ce qui se passe? Est-ce que vous allez imposer, au mois de mars ou je ne sais pas quand, une obligation d'utiliser votre application? Parce que je sais qu'il y a des systèmes de vérification qui sont basés sur le visa, l'âge, enfin la photo, etc. Mais en fait, la question centrale est: est-ce qu'il y aura une obligation pour les plateformes de utiliser votre application ou d'autres moyens qui sont vérifiés? Et qu'est-ce qui se passe le jour où mon fils de 14 ans va en Italie où il n'y a pas d'âge légal, on rentre en Belgique et passe en France où il y a 15 ans et après on va en vacances en Espagne à 16 ans. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? C'est quoi le marché unique pour lui? Merci.
Merci David. Je vais clarifier ce point-là. Donc effectivement, ton premier point est très important. Aujourd'hui, certaines plateformes utilisent des outils de vérification d'âge. On peut juger de l'efficacité de ces outils-là. Certaines n'en utilisent pas du tout. Aujourd'hui, et c'est ça le réel levier que la Commission européenne aura à sa disposition, étant donné qu'on a un outil de vérification d'âge, donc il ne sera pas obligatoire pour les plateformes, mais si vous décidez en tant que plateforme de ne pas l'utiliser, là vous aurez l'obligation de nous prouver que votre alternative est minimum aussi efficace que la nôtre. Si ce n'est pas le cas, c'est là où la sanction sera beaucoup plus efficace et beaucoup plus rapide vis-à-vis d'une plateforme si on ne fournit, nous, tout le travail. On fournit l'application, vous décidez de ne pas l'utiliser, alors la sanction sera beaucoup plus fréquente et beaucoup plus rapide. Donc ça, c'est au niveau du levier qu'on a. Au niveau du marché intérieur et de la fragmentation, c'est la raison pour laquelle la Commission européenne se penche aussi sur le dossier. Donc, je le répète fréquemment, et j'espère que le panel sera bientôt mis en place pour justement nous conseiller sur le sujet. Effectivement, la question se pose si ton fils de 14 ans se déplace entre États membres, est-ce que c'est la loi de la nationalité ou la loi du sol qui va s'appliquer? On n'a pas encore tranché sur la question parce que la Commission se penche encore sur cette question.
Mais c'est bien un domaine très clair où l'idée d'avoir un seul système juridique, un système réglementaire et d'énormes avantages, comme tu le vois aussi. Are there questions for Thomas? Yes, please.
Hi. Hi, this is Elisa from Politico. To follow up on a couple of things, is there any update on the President's panel to look into a social media ban? Because countries are moving forward. And if there is no update, what's the holdup? A second question, I will add a new one to the mix, is can you comment on Paris prosecutors' raid on X's premises? And they also invited Elon Musk for a voluntary interview. Were you aware that this was going to happen? And does this complicate your own proceedings against the platform? And then back to the question about the Judiciary Committee. There was also a report that I think some of us have received, and it includes a lot of communications between the Commission and the regulated platforms. Were you aware that the platforms had given up this information? And I know that you say the DSA is not censorship, and I think we've been over these points many times, but it seems like the other side keeps pushing and pushing the line, and they're now using your own words against you. They're dragging the rest of the Commission into it. They brought up an initiative by DG Home, the Democracy Shield. They're going further and further, and they are doxing your own people and the civil society groups that are working on this stuff. Does this worry your stuff, and does it worry the civil society groups that are informed, that are part of the enforcement process? And yeah, does it change anything for you? Because it seems like they are bringing a lot of receipts to prove their points, and you just keep telling us that the DSA is not censorship. Thank you.
Elisa, I hope you know that the DSA is not censorship. I know you know the DSA very well. So let's start with the first question on the President's panel. I mean, no update on the timeline. I mean, this Commission is obviously extremely busy. This is, of course, a priority for us, but we're actively working on it. I can say that work has actually advanced quite a lot on this panel, but it hasn't yet been formally set up. Work is ongoing, and I will not go further into more details at this stage on this. On the work done by the Paris Prosecutor's Office, I mean, of course, we're aware of the media reports. We are definitely in touch with the French authorities on this and many different matters. Maybe just as a general comment, let me just recall what the DSA is about. The DSA is not about criminal investigations. The DSA is about systemic risks that platforms may pose to citizens online. So this is the purpose of the DSA. I will not now prejudge or go into the work that is being done by the French authorities. Now, on your last question and on the so-called report of the House of Judiciary that I haven't seen myself at this stage, I mean, first, the comment I made to Nicholas on freedom of expression, of course, still holds. So we would definitely rebut any allegations that go into the opposite direction. Now, on the comms between platforms and other national authorities, I mean, we protect the interests of platforms. This is, I mean, we stand for transparency, we stand for rule of law, we stand for respect of procedures, we stand for fair and transparent enforcement. This is Europe, this is the Commission, and this is what we're doing on a daily basis. Now, if companies on the other side do not want to make use of their right to remove market-sensitive information before we publish in a transparent way the documents, that's their right. I mean, we will not comment on that. I just recall that Europe stands for fair and transparent processes.
Thank you, Thomas. Other questions to Thomas? No, then we change topic. Nicolaus. Sorry, I'm giving you the second question. I had other colleagues in the room, but we'll come back to
Thank you so much, Nicholas
Cloma,
for your active. This is for Ricardo, I believe, regarding the Goldwind investigation.
Go ahead.
So, in the case of Goldwind, for one, the question would be, can you detail or add details on the findings you have made and what you found and how long the in-depth investigation will take? And I mean, I guess this is not the only firm. Why are you only going in-depth on Goldwind specifically?
Thank you very much for that question. Good afternoon. I think that, I mean, the answer is very simple. The Commission opens an in-depth investigation, as it did in this instance, when it finds that its preliminary concerns regarding the company are confirmed and it deserves to be followed up with a full investigation. Now, in this case, we are opening against Goldwind today. The company is mainly active in wind turbine manufacturing and the services related to that. And what that means is that now the Commission will collect further evidence to decide what to do with the case. And the concrete outcome of that then will depend on the results of that investigation. Now, there are multiple outcomes possible for that. We may accept commitments offered by the company if these fully and effectively address the identified distortions. We may impose redressive measures that would also remedy those distortions. And finally, we can also adopt a no objection decision if the in-depth investigation does not confirm these preliminary indications of distortive foreign subsidies, or if the positive effects that we find would outweigh the negative effects of the distortions. And finally, I think you asked about the timing. I think our objective is to adopt a final decision by the autumn of 2027. Of course, that also depends on the cooperation that we get from the company, which is outside our own control.
Good, Ricardo. Other questions to Ricardo? No. Other topics, please. For Ricardo.
Hi, Natalie McNeilis from PAR. I just had one follow-up question on that. There were a couple of other companies that were mentioned along the way. There was the Ming Yang and Envision, and I'm wondering, does this mean that those companies have been cleared?
No. What this means is that in Goldwind's case, we would like to investigate further and that we will remain looking at the market otherwise.
Good. Thank you. Is it still to Ricardo? Ricardo? Good to have you here. You see. Yes, please.
Thanks. Jana Hemmersmeyer for AFP again. What are the kinds of remedies that Goldwind can offer? Is it a minimum price, as in the case of electric vehicles? Thanks.
Well, it's really up to the company under investigation to offer possible commitments that will fully address the distortions which have been preliminarily identified by the Commission. Alternatively, the Commission can also impose structural or even non-structural remedies, as long, again, as these fully and effectively remedy the distortion that has been identified. Now, we will assess all the possibilities that can be made and then decide on the appropriateness of any remedies based on the scope and nature. And again, that depends on us confirming that our concerns are valid.
Good.
I'm not moving
until you're
called back.
Any other questions for Ricardo? No. Then we can indeed move on. And Jorge.
Hello, Paula. I have a question on trade because yesterday Chancellor Merz spoke quite confidently about the status of the Mercosur deal. He said the attempts by the European Parliament have been unsuccessful, and he said that the trade agreement will enter into force provisionally the moment the first South American state ratifies it. So can you confirm or deny that this will be the case, that the Commission has made this decision? And second, how do you feel about Germany encroaching upon your exclusive competence in announcing trade decisions on your behalf? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Jorge. On the second question, politicians are politicians. Politicians can make political statements. On your first question, no decision has been taken.
Good. And we can recall here what President von der Leyen has said about this very same question 2 weeks ago. When Mercosur will be ready, we will be ready. Other questions to Olaf? Let me see. No, I guess the hands that I see online are not to Olaf. They're still up, but I have a strong feeling they're not for Olaf. There you go. Momschil, is it for Olaf?
It's not for Olaf, it's for Ricardo. But
for Ricardo?
Yes.
But Momschil, we asked 3 times whether there were more questions for Ricardo. But maybe you had your hand raised. Maybe it's unfair from me. Okay, so Olaf, nothing more for you. Ricardo, you're already up, so there you go. Momschil, I'm sorry if I hadn't seen your hand raised before.
Okay, no problem.
Go ahead.
My question is also about the investigation against Goldwind. So I read the information about what happened almost 2 years ago. The then competition commissioner Margrethe Vestager said that some Chinese companies had acted in various EU member states, including Bulgaria, Greece, Romania, etc. So my question is, in which countries has Goldwind acted? Are those countries mentioned by the Commissioner Vestager among them?
So the in-depth investigation that we've opened today focuses on determining whether Goldwind has received foreign subsidies that distort competition in the internal market. So they are not specific to a given member state. And although this preliminary investigation was triggered by concerns related to wind farms in some member states, I think the investigation looks far more broadly into Goldwind's activities in the EU overall.
Okay, thank you for those additional elements, Ricardo. And now I'm double careful because I still see hands raised. Nicola, is this for Ricardo? Nicola Radicic?
No, it's not. It's for Marcus.
Okay, so then we move on. Go ahead, since you just had the floor.
Okay. Thank you very much. So last week you announced a meeting between European Commission representatives and Western Balkan countries, ministers actually, for today on problem Balkan truckers are facing since introduction of EES. So can you tell us more about the meeting that already started? So who is participating exactly? Who from EU side, who from partner side? What is the expected outcome of it? I suppose we cannot expect any breakthrough information after it. And what are the next steps, please? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicola. Indeed, the meeting is taking place today, and exactly as you say, it is taking place as we speak. So I don't have any more elements at this stage. Please bear with us. We will be able to communicate further on the outcomes of the meeting later today.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Let me also add something on the entry-exit system in general, something to clarify what I said on Friday on the rollout of the entry-exit system. No new prolongations of the progressive rollout have been announced. The progressive deployment of the entry-exit system will end in April 2026, so in April this year, as foreseen. However, the regulation for the entry-exit system foresees already certain flexibilities for member states for the period after the completion of the rollout in April this year. This is, however, not new. It's foreseen in the legislation.
Thank you, Marcus. Good to share that clarification with regard to the question that was asked last week. David, you have a question for Marcus.
Yes, thank you, Paola. It's on migration, I hope, for Marcus, because it's borderline, I would say. According to official information, at least 380 migrants has drawn in the Mediterranean Sea in the last days of January. They departed from Tunisia, and nobody was there to save them, even if you are cooperating with Tunisia to improve their search and rescue capabilities. According to some estimates, in fact, there were 1,000 people drawn. I'm wondering if you have any comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David, for the question. I have seen press reports. I have, however, no further information at this stage, any official information, but of course we are monitoring the situation closely, as we always do. What I can say in general is that every life lost at sea is a tragedy, and these tragedies highlight once more the urgency to intensify the work with partner countries along the migratory routes. You will have seen last week we presented our new strategy on asylum and migration management. This is one of the focus points of this strategy, to work closer with countries, partner countries along the routes to prevent such losses of life, to redouble efforts in the fight against migrant smugglers, who are the ones responsible for these tragedies. And it's also important that we acknowledge the important work done by the Coast Guards, Italian Coast Guards, but also the rescue teams and Frontex to prevent loss of lives. When it comes to Tunisia, more in particular, Guillaume can step in on what we do exactly with Tunisia.
Yes, David, you had to follow up?
Yes, maybe it's for Guillaume, but have you been in contact with Tunisian authorities, asking them what has happened, why you didn't intervene with the search and rescue capabilities financed by the European Union? Why did you not coordinate with the Italian search and rescues, since it was the Italian search and rescues center that sent the advisory for the 380 people? So basically, if the memorandum with Tunisia is working so well, as you have said in the past, what happened.
And I see Guillaume coming closer, so maybe he has some elements to us. You're drawing our attention, David, to something which is really tragic about human beings who put their lives at risk to cross the sea and to reach better quality of life. Do we have more information, Guillaume, in the context of our contacts, notably with Tunisia?
So as Marcus said, we are monitoring the situation. When it comes to specific contacts, I don't know where you are. Sorry. I don't know. I need to check in this case specifically if we have been in contacts, but we are always in contacts also, more broadly speaking, with our delegation on the ground. But for this specific case, I will need to triple check and come back to you. When it comes to the search and rescue operation, you know that it is a national competence and a legal obligation under international law. So the Commission, as such, is not involved in such search and rescue operations. We're not responsible for the coordination of such operations. What I can say is I work with the authorities on the ground is precisely to make sure that we have the capacities from the operational side, but also with the staff on the ground to do those operations. We have been working with the authorities. We'll continue to do so. This is also something that Marcus has underlined.
Thank you, Guillaume. Other questions to Guillaume, not that we have him here with us. So I see it's not for Guillaume. Then I take online Susanna.
Thank you. Susana Fesch, SIC Expresso. I would like to ask some follow-up questions. You have said already that the Portuguese government has not requested anything to the EU civil protection mechanism. So I suppose this is still the case. But I would like to understand a bit what else can this mechanism do for Portugal, because last week Eva mentioned generators and dryers, but we know that the mechanism also has emergency shelter, and also because one of the something that the people in these affected areas are asking for are not only generators but also tents, roof tiles, and some other material to cover the roofs. So I'd like to understand what exactly could the mechanism help with. And I also have a question for Maciej, but I'm not sure if you want me to ask it already or if you prefer to do it separately.
Okay, Susanna, now let's tackle that one first. And indeed, there hasn't been any new request for the activation of the civil protection mechanism. Of course, it's for the Portuguese authorities in this case because we're talking about Portugal, but it's always for the member states concerned to assess the opportunity of asking for the civil protection mechanism. Now, in terms of what is the concrete assistance that can be given, Eva?
Yes, Susanna, if I talked here last week about dryers and generators, this is what usually can come after the storm, but our civil protection mechanism can offer much more. We are ready to help to countries in different kind of crises. So, as you said, it can be even shelters, it can be medical equipment, it can be sanitation. We are even providing some medical countermeasures in the crisis situations when there is an outbreak of a disease, which is not the case of Portugal. I'm just giving examples. So it can be really a huge variety. The country needs to specify what exactly are the needs. Then we coordinate with the other member states and participating states of the mechanism, and then we also stay in touch with the country, obviously, because the needs can vary as the crisis develops. As Paula has confirmed, up till now there has not been any request from the Portuguese side.
Thank you. And now let me see just if there's any other question to Eva. No, then we ask Maciej and Susanne, go ahead with the other question that you had.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't pronounce your name correctly. So when it comes to the solidarity mechanism, so we already know that the government has 3 months or 12 weeks to make a request. But I would like to understand how long, if you can measure. I suppose you have like a timeline, but we know that the money will not arrive anytime soon, not in 2-3 months. So how long does normally it takes for the money from the Solidarity Fund get to the affected areas? And how much are we talking in this case? Do you have like an estimation, take into account that, at least to activate this Solidarity Fund, we have to take into account 1.6 billion damages. And when it comes to the cohesion fund, can we say that reprogrammation of the cohesion fund would be faster? Thank you.
I guess the amount will depend also on the request, but Maciej, tell us more about this.
Susanna, and good afternoon. So when it comes to the European Union Solidarity Fund, as you rightly pointed out, the country has 12 weeks to submit their application. But what's important to know is that the cost of the recovery can be paid from this fund retroactively from the first day after the disaster. So whatever the costs are now incurred by the Portuguese authorities, they can be then paid from the European Solidarity Fund, which will be allocated to Portugal. The timings are very difficult to define at this stage, obviously. It will depend on the timing of the application submitted by Portugal. And then, as I explained, the Commission makes their assessment of the damages and submit their proposal to the budgetary authority, and only then the Parliament and the Council decide on the amount to be granted. So it can take from a few weeks up to several months even. But as I said, the costs incurred already now by Portugal can be paid retroactively from the money which will be granted to the country later. And I think it's important to remember about it. When it comes to cohesion funds, this is again difficult to determine now the timing, how much time this procedure will take. So within the programs which are now being implemented, cohesion programs by Portugal, the authorities can propose amendments to the Commission to address the damages caused by the storm. We will look at these proposed amendments, we'll discuss with Portugal, and then we'll agree or we'll propose some changes. But again, this can take from a few weeks up to several months.
Okay. Thank you, Maciej. Other questions to Maciej? No? Then we completed 1 hour. We'll take a final question to conclude our midday today. Please.
Thanks, Paula, for the floor. This is a question for Markus, Igor Juric, Slovenian Television. I have a couple of questions. The first one is, how does the Commission view yesterday's events in Zagreb, Croatia, where the controversial singer Thompson, who is known for his nationalists songs and songs that include also Ustasha salute, sang some songs at the reception for the handball players who won the bronze medal at the European Championship. And the second question, his performance was also supported by the government, Croatian government, even though the left-wing city authorities did not allow Thompson to hold concert in the city. How do you see this governmental support?
Igor, thank you for the question. We have seen the media reports, but as you know, we never comment on individual cases, and I will not do so today either.
Good. And with this, we conclude our midday. Thank you, and bon appétit.